Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the Healthy Christian Leader. My guest today is Rachel Quirt, and Rachel, I'm excited to have you here. You have a background in pastoral ministry as well as counseling.
I do.
Tell us about that. That's very interesting.
Well, it's been an interesting journey, absolutely. I was in pastoral ministry for about six and a half years. And during that time, I became somebody that people were constantly coming to for counsel. So much so that it wasn't just in my church, it was from our region as well, and our city. And so it became very apparent that God was definitely calling me to some kind of counseling. In 2020, there was just this moment in time where I had a chance to start to do my master's in psychology and counseling and to move towards being a licensed therapist. And so I was able to take that and so entered into this journey and loving it.
No, that's exciting. And I understand you're writing a book as well right now.
Yes, I am. So in 2021, I lost a sister, 2022. And that impacted me so deeply. And a couple of years later, I took a retreat. And during that retreat, I just felt like God was saying that in order to memorialize her and let her legacy continue to carry through me, because she was like a mother to me. She really impacted my life. Without her, I don't think I'd be here, to be honest, her and God. And I just felt like he was laying on my heart to write a book about her. So it's my memoir, but it's because of the journey that I've been on since she's passed and what I've been learning about grief and what I've been experiencing in that journey.
So that part of the journey, and I'm sorry to hear about your loss.
Thank you.
Is really been informing in a deeper way the counseling and giving understanding and perspective to the work you do.
Yes, absolutely. Especially when I'm working with clients who are experiencing grief, or anybody else for that matter.
And grief comes on all kinds of different levels.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And actually in this particular journey, it wasn't just my grief with my sister. It was grief over past childhood experiences. It was grief over family dynamics that I had never really touched on or had a chance to kind of unlayer. I had unlayered some things for myself, but not necessarily for my family. And so, grief comes up with layered kind of grief, complicated kind of grief in terms of just different grieving what other people have gone through. Grieving losses in terms of job or changes, transitions, all those kinds of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jesus says, in this world you'll have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. But life does have loss, it does have complications, it isn't always easy, and we need as human beings help in processing that, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. Because those emotions, in my experience anyway, in terms of pastoring and then being in therapy and then experiencing it myself, is those emotions can feel very intense. And most of the time we do not want to experience it. We don't want to feel it. But in order for grief to actually do its work and to form us and to reshape us and to help us to bring something beautiful out of it, we need to be able to sit with those emotions and be able to let it speak to us, let it breathe, be able to let us experience it, It's
interesting, I'm reminded as you share that of an experience in my own journey where my wife and I were leading a local church and had just gone through a very heavy, difficult season. And I found myself on the way to the airport to go for a holiday, the two of us, and crying out of nowhere in the waiting for our plane, and recognizing that I'd buried something and I was unaware that I'd buried something. And it did take that time of reflection.
Absolutely.
So we do need that outside help to sometimes unpack things.
Absolutely. Something that I've been really kind of how I've been describing grief these days to clients in particular, and how I've utilized it in my own life in this last couple of years is I'm recognizing that grief is the emotion that sees us. So what I mean by that is that without grief, we would not be able to recognize that something was there and is now missing, and that something should have been there and never was. And grief is the experience, the emotion that says, I see you. I see that this is a pain, and that this is something that needs to be integrated so that fruit can come out of that in a good way. And, just highlighting that in terms of Christ, he was a man acquainted with sorrows and grief. And he's the one that sees us. He's the one that comes alongside and says, I see you. I see this experience that you're having, and I want to be there with you. I want to hold you in it. I want to experience this with you. He doesn't kind of stay outside of it. He's the one that comes alongside and sees it with us. Yeah.
Many people in ministry spend years pouring into the lives of others, just as you did when you were pastoring. What have you learned about the importance of nurturing your own spiritual life along the way?
Yeah, that's a good question. Without it, I think I would miss how God wants to connect with me and how he wants to connect with others. So for me, kind of stepping back and just nurturing that spiritual life kind of informs me in terms of how I should pour out and when and how often, and even what I should pour out with others, absolutely. And that's not just in pastoral ministry, that's just in life as well as therapeutically as a therapist as well. Without it, I would not have what I need to give to others. So.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus says it, doesn't he? That I am the vine, you're the branches, remain in me and I in you, and you will bear much fruit.
Yes.
There's such a reality of when we stay connected to the vine.
Yes.
He is the counselor.
He is.
I mean, the scripture is clear with that, and he must, and he gives insight.
Absolutely. That's actually some of my favorite scriptures from the Psalms in terms of that he's the counselor, that he's the one with the knowledge, he's the one that gives the might and the power to even, to do what he actually is asking of us. He gives the understanding, all of those kinds of things. Yeah.
You disconnect from him, you disconnect from the resource.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Your memoirs reflect on grief and loss, in the writing of the book. How can seasons of grief deepen a person's understanding of God's presence and faithfulness?
I think, and everybody's experience is different. I feel like grief is a very sacred experience that we have to be mindful and careful actually how we're processing grief with people, because they're so vulnerable and so raw in those moments that they can be deeply hurt. And when it comes to allowing grief to do its work, I find that if we allow God to draw close to us in those moments, is that it shoots our roots down really deep into his character. And it helps us to build our capacity, build our resilience, build our flexibility for future storms.
It's interesting, and I think there are seasons too in life where you can go through difficulty and challenges and get through that and build your faith for the next leg of the journey.
Yes.
And go through other challenges later on.
Yes.
And still need fresh perspective and still need to be able to process that and understand it, and because there's new lessons that come out of it's not a one and done scenario.
No, it isn't. Absolutely. It's kind of layered. I know most of the time we want to go through a season and go, oh, okay, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Don't have to go there again.
I learned all about that in the last lesson. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, yes, he takes us deeper. And I find, for me personally, again, I'm finding the deeper is deeper into his character, deeper into how does he show up for us in those moments? How does he show up in when we are in so much pain?
Do you think that we either misjudge his character or that we sometimes lose sight of his character in pain?
Yeah, all of the above, for sure. Yeah, sometimes we've taken in teachings that we've misunderstood or we've been misguided in terms of how we should see God or how we experience him. And he's often, he shows up to kind of reveal to us, re-reveal, if you will, who he really is, despite everything that we've learned, despite what this world will tell us, despite what we go through. And I think, again, too, like suffering is one of those things that we just, it makes no sense to us here on earth. We're walking here on earth, we're walking in a fallen world, we're walking in a world that does have suffering, and we just don't understand that. And so every time we go through some kind of hardship or grief, we're constantly searching for meaning and trying to understand it. That's how our brains are wired, to try to understand something. And the majority of the time, it seems to me like what we do start to understand is just more and more of God's character, not necessarily that suffering is a great experience, but it's understanding who God is in the experience that really changes us.
And I like what you're saying there, because, the word says that, the just shall live by faith. And so as Christians, we're positioning ourselves in a posture of faith. And sometimes that can leave us in a place of being disappointed with God when we've trusted and something doesn't work out as we might expect it to work out.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting, actually, that you're saying that. That's something I've been really thinking about this past week, is that faith actually is this place of uncertainty and trust, and that kind of lends itself to faith. It's not that something is absolutely true or going to happen the way that we want it to or the way we think it should happen, but it's faith in God's character. It's faith in, while I'm going through these circumstances, I trust wholeheartedly in you, God, in your character and who you say you are, that this is going to work for good for those who love you.
Yes, and that's exactly it. Sometimes in circumstances, we can look at them and say, God, I don't understand this. Why do I have to go through this difficult time? And we perhaps judge the character of God, or we forget about the character of God, but then we get 5 years down the road and you begin to see the fruit that God bore through that experience at the time that you could not see at that time. And things take on a different perspective.
Yes, and I think that's okay, because I love that God has big shoulders. He can take it all. He knows we're going to be angry. He knows we're going to be hurt. He knows we're going to be confused. He knows we're not going to understand, that we're going to be, God, where are you? God, I can't see you. God, I can't feel you. And he's okay with that, in my estimation, because that's part of the integration. That's part of our human process. And that's part of how we learn about who he is. And for me personally, I don't necessarily, because I don't believe that God causes suffering. Yes, I recognize that he allows a certain amount of suffering. But in the way that I kind of perceive his work is, we're walking through this valley. This world is the valley. And yes, we have some mountains in the middle of it, but we really are walking through the valley, and he's with us in it, and he knows we're going through the valley. And so he's going to come alongside and give us the grace that we need in those moments, the understanding that we might need. Most of all, just his presence in the midst of it, because he knows we're going to be hurting. And so he gives us his presence in the midst of it.
Yeah, one of the scriptures that I love so much is when the Lord's talking about our need, and it's specific to, I believe, sin, but in my mind, it can be to any area of pain or shortfalling, that he knows that we're of dust.
Yes.
And that's exactly it. We're created beings. We're not the creator, and we do have shortcomings. We have limited vision. We have limited perspective, and
Absolutely.
even though we can be full of faith
Yes.
as leaders, we can be biblical scholars.
Yes.
We can, at the very same time,
Yes.
being in the presence of the Lord, listening for his leading and being in the Word,
Yes.
we can still need to process
Absolutely.
what's inside.
Yes, and I think God knows that he needs to use that. And I think that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
He has this ability to take what the enemy would want us to sit in terms of our sinful nature and the difficult experiences that we have. Like, so for example, maybe we're feeling really angry. That's not wrong in and of itself. God created those emotions to speak to us, to communicate to us what we kind of need. It's actually when we suppress it and deny it that it can move into areas that are harmful and hurtful and sinful. But God knows that if we bring it to him, then he can restore it. He can bring it, make good out of it. And so he's not asking us to kind of deny it and pretend, hey, I don't feel angry. He's like, I already know that.
Right.
I already know deep down inside that you feel angry. So just bring it to me, be honest with me about it, and I'll give you the grace to walk it through.
Well, and I think what we're talking about here right now, Rachel, highlights the reality that leaders need to have an opportunity for counseling and therapy.
Yes.
To deal with leadership.
Yes.
Because, we've all heard that expression, leadership is like going for a walk in the woods in hunting season with a bullseye on your back.
Right.
You cannot be a leader without encountering pain.
Yes.
Because there are multiple views of how everything should go.
Yes.
And your job is to work with others to set direction, and that will ultimately disappoint some. Good counseling for leadership is critical for healthy leadership, in my view.
Yes. I think so too. Like, if I could summarize it this way, I think it helps them to be able to model for their people and the communities that you can be vulnerable, but not so vulnerable that you're oversharing, not so vulnerable that you're not able to continue to lead, but you're vulnerable enough to be able to self-reflect in a genuine and authentic way so that you can have a genuine and authentic relationship with God and a genuine and authentic relationship with other people. For me personally, I think one of the things that pastors struggle with is, how do I incorporate mental health in the pulpit? How much do I share of my own journey? How much don't I share? Because you're right, they've got the bullseye on them. The moment they share something vulnerable from the pulpit, there's always that potential that it's going to come back to affect them. And so being able to have a safe space where they can get some therapy, they can get counsel to work through some really deep things so that when they're back in the pulpit, they can be vulnerable, but they're not feeling like they have to overshare.
Right.
And that can be the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
The the whole idea of mental health and processing with a therapist, a psychologist, or a counselor is relatively new, say in the past 20 years in the context of pastoral leaders. Like if you were to go 20 years ago, there was more of an idea. In fact, I remember leadership conversations about 20 years ago when the conversation started to include significant leaders talking about the influence and the positive influence of counseling. And it basically opened a door of freedom because we had stigmas and ideas and, that mental health, if you have a mental health issue, this is where you go. Right? And mental health fits in this box by these definitions and so on and so forth. When in reality, we all have mental health that comes and goes in its degrees as we go about life.
Absolutely.
And it's really about maintaining good mental health. And I'm so thankful these leaders opened the door. But today, 20 years later, leaders don't, there's more freedom, I think. There's a comfort to go for counseling. Yet I don't know, we always know when we need to go for counseling. Rachel, when do we need to go for counseling?
Anytime. Far before you feel like it's broken. And that before you feel like you actually have a need for it. Because mental health is just like a physical health, right? It needs maintenance. It's not a season to be fixed. It's something that we all have and we all need and that we have to maintain and sustain throughout our entire lives. So I think the benefit of counseling and therapy just in general, just to maintain, is to give you a safe space to reflect, to have somebody else's perspective that are there to help you to kind of look inside and turn internally and to see and to be able to ask, questions that we don't typically ask ourselves, as in what does that feel like in your body right now? I notice you're tensing up. What is that tenseness? Where's that coming from? And so that can be really helpful for people because we tend to deny those things, suppress those things, put them to the side. We don't pay attention to what our body's telling us. We're not necessarily paying attention to what our emotions are telling us maybe, or what thoughts are going through our minds. So all of that can be very self-reflective. And so it helps us to maintain and sustain our entire holistic life, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically even.
Well, we have just a few more moments, a couple more moments. What I'm interested to kind of land this conversation is, what would be a good maintenance cycle or cadence for leaders to visit, with a counselor to process? And then secondly, what are some of the signs that should prompt us, I need to book some time?
Right, yes. Good question. So in some ways it would be just touch base with a therapist. And then the cycle might be identified.
So maybe a quarterly visit?
Yeah, for sure. Like every few months kind of concept, just checking in with a therapist. And if you have one established already, for sure checking in with them periodically. And obviously, again, like anything that you're going through in life, in your congregational, that, you're maybe being able to function, you're surviving well, but just to have a chance to kind of reflect on some of those things that would allow for a nice cadence throughout the ministry. And then apologize, what was the last
the second
part of that question?
was, what kind of indicators would be there, like red flags, that would come up to say, hey, there's pain I didn't recognize is here. And I really need to book a conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I think for a lot of pastors, they move towards burnout and overwhelm, a decent amount, and a lot of stress. Because like you said earlier, they have a lot of people who are looking to them, relying on them, requiring of them, needing them to pour in. And so recognizing signs of burnout, recognizing that, hey, maybe are you avoiding things a little bit more than normal? Are you feeling a little bit more irritable than you normally would? Are you noticing conflict showing up in your relationships? Are you noticing when you go to bed at night, you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're feeling really stressed? If you notice any kind of behavioral changes that aren't typical of you, those would be good signs to make sure you're checking in.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed even in my own journey, if I've gone through a difficult period in leadership, I'll start to recognize that my questions with the Lord change a little bit, and my level of comfort with certain things changes, which I know is extremely subtle and hard to define. But in reality, there are times when I know I'm just not seated with the Lord. Something's unresolved. And I feel something's unresolved.
Right. And for me, it would be something like I would notice that I start to withdraw just a little bit more. I'm an introvert, extrovert kind of concept, but most of the time I need space to process things anyway as an introvert. But yeah, when I'm needing a little bit of a checkup, it's more along the lines of I'm starting to withdraw a little bit and I'm noticing that and I need to check in.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And this has been a great conversation. And the good thing is we get to have another one.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and so if you're listening, be sure to tune in next week. And we're going to be talking about deepening your relationship with Christ. We'll see you next time on The Healthy Christian Leader. Well, today's conversation was fantastic, but we're not finished yet. We'll be back in the next video with the same guest with more discussion about leader health. You know the drill. Subscribe and hit that bell. Would you join us for the next episode? You can find new episodes every week in video form on the Aaron Ministry YouTube page and in audio form as the Healthy Christian Leader Show wherever you get your podcasts. Aaron Ministries is an interdenominational network of friends in ministry with a mission to foster healthy Christian leaders. Check out our website, aaronministries.com, for more resources and information on how to donate or to start a healthy Christian leader gathering in your area. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.